I know his day was, but I never looked at the date and made a connection.
Yeah.
Just like, I was waiting until 11, guys.
Just wait until somebody...
I mean, let's be honest. No one knows anyone's birthday anymore. It's all like Facebook notifications and
For sure. Yeah. And then who celebrates their birthday on their birthday?
Also a valid point.
You know, like we have jobs and shit. You know?
True.
No,
John usually takes his birthday off, though.
Wow.
You're here, bro.
You're also wearing your hoodie over your headphones, I believe.
He does.
I'm going to tuck him in.
I take my both day off.
Yeah. Let's cool it that way.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So how old are you today, John?
36.
36. The big 36.
No
Yes,
way,
sir.
really?
That's the half-life in America.
That is the half. You're at the halfway point. Yikes.
Is it really?
And retirement's like right there too.
Yeah.
You
Technically,
get to retire like 7 years before you die. I think is what it is.
I think
Yeah.
74
Oh my God.
is the average age that dudes in America die.
Really.
74. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. And the retirement age is 65.
That's why I'm sitting in the sauna every week now.
Does it work for you guys? Do you feel better?
The sauna?
Yeah.
I've only done it for 2 weeks now. I feel pretty good though.
Man, I don't know. I sweat all the time already.
Yeah.
You know?
I read the studies. That was what got me. I watched a Tony Robbins video where the guy was talking about saunas and how much they change things. And it was, if you went into the sauna for the equivalent of like an hour a week, right? It cut your heart attack risk by 50% and it cut your stroke risk by 60%.
Is there a temperature that you have to be at, or
You want it to be higher, like the 140s, 160s, that kind of thing.
An infrared sauna that can get to 145 is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's about the stress on your cardiovascular system, and there's heat shock proteins that are released as well when it gets hot enough and you're in there for long enough. And I think that changes, the way your body is working at the moment. And
how long?
20 minutes, like 3 times a week is what they had. About an hour a week is what it was. And so I was like, I can do that after my workout. And Tony Robbins was talking about it. He's like, guys that don't want to work out, like I can get them into the sauna. At least like go to the sauna like 4 times a week.
I'm too big of a pussy for that cold plunge. Like I don't do cold plunges.
I haven't done the cold plunge
that's
yet.
awesome, dude.
You're a cold plunge guy?
Well, so easy.
He loves the cold plunge.
Yeah, I love it. I read heard that you get nearly the same benefits outside of like emotional, like anxiety and things like that by a contrast shower. So I do that almost every single day.
Do you notice a difference?
Yeah.
Contrast shower. Can you, what's that for people that don't know?
Yeah. So I put the water as hot as I can for like 30 seconds and then as cold as I can for 30 seconds.
Do you go all the way cold?
All the way.
I've done those. They're cold.
Yeah. But I do it 3 times.
Okay.
And, yeah, man, I feel better. I feel like you get I've done ice baths a bunch of times. Just buy like 2 bags of ice, put them in cold water in your tub and lay in it.
Yep.
And I always feel amazing afterwards. But I don't notice a huge difference in like recovery, really. Yeah. I mean, I feel really great for 25 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
But you do that in the morning and then you train hard at 10 a.m.
So do you notice more mentally?
Definitely.
What do you notice?
Just lower anxiety and mental clarity for sure. And the ice bath really does it too.
Are you familiar with the vagus nerve? Have you seen that stuff?
No, not at all.
The vagus nerve is the one they're relating to regulation of your nervous system. At least as far as I'm a pretty novice on this, so I'm going to explain it how I understand it. But the vagus nerve and the way it's stimulated seems to be related to a lot of our anxiety issues and like how our nervous system is regulated and things. And there's all these things that you can do to tone the vagal nerve or something like that, right? Singing, box breathing, breathing meditation, stuff like that. Singing is one of them. Yeah. Singing actually apparently is toning your vagal nerve or whatever it is. And same with cold plunges was one of them.
Wow.
So there's a lot of them. And it's like, you don't have to necessarily choose. I don't know which ones are the best, but there was this long list of them that I saw. And I was like, that's really interesting because they're coming up with like stomach problems are related to that as well.
I was actually going to ask about that. Yeah. Because now you're talking about this, like I hear that gut health has a direct correlation to your mental health they're finding.
Yeah. I've heard of it like as the second brain.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that?
Only a little bit. I think a dysregulated stomach, like if your gut health's out, you're going to have some, some anxiety and some
people have
digest authority, everyone.
That's right. Some greens factor.
People have made a lot of links over the years about how you mentally feel and how you physically affects your health. stress is really the only thing that they ever figured out was really like obviously a direct, correlation to things. Yeah. But it's a really good point.
Like I remember when I was younger racing motocross, my dad was pretty intense about the competitiveness in which we were taking it and whatnot. So I remember having to go to the doctor as like an 8 or 9 year old just because I would be throwing up and just having like stomach issues. I've always had stomach issues just related to nerves. So I can, directly attest to that. There's a direct correlation between stress, anxiety, and how your stomach feels. Yeah. And I've noticed that my ability to manage stress, anxiety, and whatnot directly correlates to my ability to put on weight, my ability to eat, and stomach health. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing is whether or not changing the gut health is going to change the way that you feel anxious-wise, anxiety-wise. And I think that's what they're saying to some degree, is that if you change the gut environment, you're going to feel better.
I'd love to see statistics about that changing over the years.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Anxiety's gone up so much in the past 2 or 3 decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would I think that one of the big things that happens with the fitness industry is that people start trying to gatekeep it.
Yeah.
Like they get fit or they get skilled at something. And now it's like, if you're not like me, then you're not cool.
Yeah.
And sure. I think we all know that that's true in whatever sport or whatever,
Well, it's the status and the exclusivity.
Right.
If I know something you don't know, I'm a higher level status person than you are, higher status person than you are.
For sure. And I think if they can produce some like good content and that becomes like common knowledge, I think it would transform the health epidemic. And this is just an idea, because it's like nobody wants to be depressed and anxious all the time. And if they can be like, hey, the way you feel, like all these emotions you're dealing with are directly associated with what you put into your body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's people that swear that things like the carnivore diet are life-changing.
Really?
Yeah. Like there's one person, Jordan Peterson's daughter, I think is the one, who she's on. I don't think it's the carnivore, it's lion diet or something like that.
Is that on? It's like mainly salt and like
salt and meat and like that's it. Salt, meat, and water. I think is all she consumes is steak every single day, all day long.
That's just, I don't know, man.
But she claims that she was on a whole list of prescriptions before that and couldn't get out of bed half the time. And like this, people are like, is it hard? And she's like, if you knew my life beforehand, this is nothing. Yeah. Like I would sacrifice eating anything for this ever,
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's interesting because there's got to be something, because we know foods can definitely fuck your stomach up and, they can obviously make you feel bad and things like that. But, what else could they be doing long term for you if you just have an allergy to them or something that you don't know you're actually allergic to? Like I clear my throat all the time. And I know there's sometimes when I'm eating something and I get this just build up of phlegm. It's just an allergy. It's, how much is that mild allergy across everything you eat, affecting your life, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting, it's like if they had more data on that. It doesn't, there's no clear reason why yet, right? No. We don't know. I mean,
I think that's really where the rubber meets the road with it. That's why I said stress earlier. It's the only thing they've been able to prove.
Yeah.
You've had these theories for a long time. If you have a certain pain, a certain place, that could be linked to something else, and it gets really specific.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to prove these things. But I think where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But then you have that going directly head to head with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So
they're gonna lose.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean is that like you got no proof and you're going against Pfizer, bro.
Pfizer's gonna win, man.
Good luck, dog.
I know, man.
It's tough.
Eat more
someday.
Meat. Eat more meat, you'll feel better.
When Pfizer can sell me the pills, they'll fix all these problems. Might as well.
What do you mean when they can? So they've already sold you a vaccine that's going to make everything better. What do you mean?
It did. My heart feels really good actually after that vaccine.
They didn't sell us that. It was free and mandatory, which is
free and mandatory.
Free. You mean we pay for it with our taxes?
Pay for it with your life for some people, dude.
I saw yesterday they had the FDA had drafted warning letters about myocarditis from those and never sent them.
Man, it's crazy. Like, it's so hard to make a choice and know what's true.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Like, it's so difficult. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's such a crazy thing. Like you hear these stories of people who didn't get it and then they have a stroke and then they almost die. And then you hear of people who did get it and it's directly associated with the vaccine as to why. Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, what do we do?
I think it's probably not very clear. My guess would be that whatever COVID does itself is the problem. Like they know that, but that the vaccine probably comes with its own set of problems.
Yeah, exactly. So. And that's, to me, that's the I would err on the side of just, take some Dayquil and deal with it.
You should sit in the sauna. That would be it, though.
Yeah.
So for those that stroke, it's 60% reduction in stroke.
Digest Authority, sauna, and more meat in your diet.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, my wife, she was
loves the meat.
Yeah, she loves the meat, but
come on, dude.
But she was a teacher in Vegas, and they're mandating all the teachers to get that and whatnot. And she's had lung issues ever since. Like, I spent earlier this year, like this March, when we were still in Vegas, in the ER with her. Because lung issues, like she could not breathe, and they're reoccurring. We can't figure out what it is. She just got referred to a specialist last week, and it's happened ever since she's gotten the jab.
And is that from the meat or from the vaccine?
I would say the vaccine. I don't think the meat does anything but help. So.
Less stress.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like when she was pregnant, she had a Vlissadimist insertion, which basically, if you think of the umbilical cord like a wire, the rubber insulation around the wire was kind of frayed and just exposing like the raw wire. Well, I rubbed her feet every single night, and I helped her, de-stress and whatnot. I was a good husband, and it corrected itself. So I think there is a direct correlation with your body's ability to be able to fix itself with like how stressed out you are and your immune system and whatnot. And I think that's very overlooked.
Yeah.
People try to give you all this shit or give you all this advice when in reality, like, hey, take a deep breath, relax. Like, that's the best advice anybody can give you.
Yeah. The hard thing is like, how do you ever not be stressed out?
True.
Like, I mean,
are you stressed about being stressed?
Yeah. I mean,
you just gotta
like,
stop thinking about shit.
Yeah. But like, you have a kid. You have a spouse.
Don't do that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. Too late.
Problem number one.
Too late, man. Yeah. And like you have a kid and you have a wife and then you have a job or multiple. Okay, let's say, who are we kidding? Like if you're a millennial and you don't have a degree that's directly associated with your career, or you didn't start somewhere and work your way up to some management position or whatever, or have your own business, you're working multiple jobs.
Your mind's going to find a way to start worrying about shit. I hear what you're saying, but like even it doesn't matter if you're actually overwhelmed or not. Most people you'll
find something else. Yeah, you'll be on TikTok looking for a reason to be mad at the world,
True.
To just need, we can't help it. And it's like, you're going to find it somewhere, but yeah, it's totally true.
Probably just need some ketamine or something.
Let's go.
Little ketamine therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
K-hole will solve your problems.
Yeah. Stick you in the K-hole.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm too big.
I'm going to tell you, probably isn't.
Yeah.
Probably
I
isn't.
knew there was a guy that I was friends with that he had some, mental problems and things, and was depressed and wanted to kill himself, and just, was driving down the road and like wanted to crash his car into the other cars on the side of the road. That kind of thing. Ketamine saved his life.
Yeah, no, it works. So, it definitely works. Yeah. Psychedelics, ketamine. There's a lot of different treatments like that absolutely do work. What I've found is that a lot of people will find themselves in this journey with these, whether it's mushrooms or ketamine or LSD. Or MDMA or whatever. And then the thing is like when you're inebriated, that's where you find out things about yourself.
Yeah.
And then what I think becomes an issue for people is not realizing that whenever you're sober, that's when you do the work about the things you found out about yourself.
Yeah, that would be true.
Does that make sense? Yep. And a lot of people think it's the substance that's going to fix it, but it's actually the discovery on the substance that you use later to do like real daily work and figure those things out and fix them. Sounds like,
Yeah.
I believe, I 100% believe.
Yeah, definitely combined with therapy.
For sure.
You're 100%.
But he did therapy over and over, and the ketamine was
unlocks things, man. Like, yep. Sometimes you need some help. You need to kind of have an outer body experience to develop the correct amount of, whether it's like self-empathy or just self-awareness, giving yourself grace. A lot of the time, these substances, not necessarily with LSD or mushrooms, you're going to really just kind of feel things in the rawest form. But with ketamine and MDMA, you find yourself, and a lot of therapists say this, and a lot of like, whether it's medical journals or just blogs that you read, that you're able to sit with the trauma without feeling the pain of it. So you can look at the things in your life that are the most painful that you've really dealt with in your past that cause you to feel and be and exist in the way that you are without feeling crushed by the weight of my dad doing this thing or my mom or not having them at all or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Actually, there was a guy I followed that did MDMA therapy. laying on the couch, going through his traumas or something like that. He was like, it was just talking when he took MDMA to his therapist. And he was like, stuff I didn't even realize was traumatic started coming up. And I was just letting it go and letting it go. You know, life-changing.
100%. It really is. Definitely is.
It's pretty crazy. They'll mandate the jab for you, but like anything you want to try and play with, psychedelics, you like, that's Schedule 1 controlled substance.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't make them money. They don't have the infrastructure for it.
True.
Why do you think it's taken so long for the legalization of weed? Is because they have to put down the infrastructure to make money off of it.
Well, they make money off of it in both ways. They make money off of it by prohibition, and then they make money off of it by controlling it in the sense of selling it and taxing it. Because in prohibition, you have to pay fines. Privatized prisons are making money because people are going to jail for it. People are getting more stuck in the cycle of not being able to find financial freedom because you get caught with, an ounce of weed in your car while you're driving with your kid. And now you owe the government a ton of money for the mistakes you've made, and you're stuck, and you're going to always be stuck as the number feeding into the system. And then whenever it is legalized, and they tax it out the ass, and now you're having to pay them again. So it's interesting how that works.
Oh, they always learn how to. They know how to win. Dude. They're not going to lose.
Absolutely, it's like they don't want to make it. And I mean, of course, infrastructure has something to do with it, because they can't make it legal until they can control it and use it to control us. You know? For sure.
Yeah, it's like Nancy Pelosi's stock picker. Have you seen that?
No.
There's guys on Twitter that just like tell you everything that they're buying. And it's like, just follow them and do what they do, because they know they're going to win. Like they're going to win. They know what's coming.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like they started putting money into all these defense corporations, and all of a sudden we give, $200 billion to Ukraine, and they made tons of money off of that. The stock prices just skyrocket,
Yeah, man.
So they always win no matter what.
It's definitely a spooky time, man.
Yeah.
It is.
Speaking of spooky time, we got a new guest on today.
That's right. that's our intro.
Nice.
We like to chill in the beginning.
Let's go. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're here today with Nate Carroll. So black belt, right? Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
That's right.
That's quite the feat, How long did that take?
This will be my 9th year this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you what happened when you achieved the black belt for you?
His dick grew.
That it?
Got bigger.
Yeah. Extra couple inches.
Oh yeah. And curve, dude. Yeah.
The curve's a positive.
That's the ultimate. Oh yeah.
Okay, then we're good. I'm good.
That's the ultimate upgrade. Let's go.
Man, we just lost some viewers.
Yeah, for sure.
Curved ones.
Yeah.
The curved one.
Man, I don't know. It was cool.
Yeah. How'd it feel? Like, did it feel like all of your dreams finally came true?
No,
okay.
Unfortunately, gosh, no.
But did it feel like as you were achieving this in the beginning, that's how it would have felt for you?
So I think as a white belt, or let's just say whatever it is you're doing, you're a newcomer.
Yeah.
The achievement of that stamp of expert, being an expert at it, whether it's your degree or whatever, certainly was everything, But for me, it's always been kind of competitive competency that has mattered to me a lot more than my rank. Throughout the colored belts, my goal was to,
can you call them colored belts?
I guess. Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Gotta be careful. Edit that out. You kind of, the goal is always black belt, of course, but really that's where it all really starts.
Yeah.
Because the goal for me has always been to be really high level at the sport.
Sure.
That's where it really begins. And it truly does. It's been really tough transition.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. People are really good at this, man.
Yeah.
They're getting, and it's only growing more and more. The sport is really taking off right now, man.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
I feel like that's everything in our lives, right? You want to get ahead on social media took off. If you want to get ahead in a sport like jiu-jitsu just took off. You want to be in business, there's 12 million supplement brands out there.
100%.
So it's always something like that. There's always other people finding the same trend at the same time.
Yeah, it's very true. One of the cool things about jiu-jitsu that I feel like maybe separates it from some of the things you mentioned, but definitely not all of them, is there's a certain degree of like guarantee that the hardest working people will win.
Okay.
Right. Yep. And with like social media or whatever, sometimes you can find success being fake. You can make it look like you've made it when you haven't.
Sure.
With jiu-jitsu, man, like especially, then that's why competition has always been so intriguing for me, is because it's the ultimate truth. You know what I mean? You there's no way to cheat it, dude. You can't. You know, it's you and another guy. If you lose, you lost. You're not good enough. You know.
Let me ask you this then, because in bodybuilding, I would generally say the hardest worker, but wins, but not always, right? Genetics being such a strong factor, that a bodybuilder can not work out that hard. Like the Mr. Olympia competition, that's like your big competition every year for like the best in the world, and all the people that are in there are the genetic freaks,
right?
And I've heard stories from pros that were competing in the Mr. Olympia that there were certain guys that wouldn't start their diets until 6 to 8 weeks out, and they were eating McDonald's up until then. And if you saw their diets on what they actually ate, you would be like, how the hell do you get in shape like this? Right. Yep. So genetics, dominant factor in bodybuilding. Like you could train like a bitch, like is what Phil Heath was Mr. Olympia for like 8 times, right? He's like tied with Ronnie and Lee Haney as like all of them won 8 times.
Yeah.
Best winners in the world. Everybody talks about how Phil Heath was a bitch when he worked out. He worked out in Denver, Colorado at the Armbrust Pro Gym, and we have stores out there, and everybody watches him. And if the camera's off, the dude's working out lighter than everybody else, barely training, just barely, but best in the world, right? So jiu-jitsu, different?
You know,
how does genetics factor?
Yeah, I think some of that definitely translates. But man, there's this factor with combat sports that makes a big difference. Really, there's kind of 2 things outside of genetics. Is like obviously technical proficiency. Yeah. Right. And just sheer will.
Okay.
Which you probably will definitely can't, like, you know, like for example, you can't go on stage and just like, all right, my diet was shit. I didn't lift heavy and I'm just going to flex harder than everyone.
True. You're fucked at that moment.
Yeah,
like once you get on stage, the work's done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
With jiu-jitsu, like the work is in the match.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's true.
It is cool.
I like that.
Yeah. You can get a last minute, like, you know, on, Angels in the Outfield. Do you remember that movie?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When the guy hits the home run, the big fat guy hits the home run. And they ask him afterwards, like, you know, how did this happen? He was like, you know, must have been that extra chili dog. I thought it tasted funny. I was like, that's just the way I look at it. It's just like something came up inside and made me perform better than I have ever performed in my entire life.
Or you literally choose. Like I've had plenty of matches where I'm like I've had a handful of matches where I was down by 12 plus points with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of asleep at the wheel trying to figure out how to escape this position that I'm in, or maybe I have escaped and I've just been on autopilot and now I've got to score and I'm like looking at the clock. And then you just like take a deep breath and you're like, all right, man, we're going to just go. And, you know, I mean, some daddy issues in there, but you know, it's like you get this, I don't care if my heart explodes.
Yeah. I'm
just going to go and not stop until the timer. I'm not going to look at the timer. I'm not going to think about anything else. We're just going to go. We're going to hammer. And then, you know, I've most of the time when not most of the time, but I've had a lot of instances where, you know, for example, the Kansas City Open a few years ago, I was down by 19 points and in 2 minutes I scored 21 and then tapped the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
And it's like, in the same way your mental can win you the match, it can lose you the match.
Yeah, for sure.
Which has happened to me a lot, but it also can cause the other guy to break, you know?
Yeah.
Like you just start hammering away when you're down on points and the guy thinks he's got it won and his whole team's on the barricades. Like, let's go. And then boom, you score and you pass and then you mount the guy. And then he's like, you look at the clock, or look at the timer and you got 4 points you're only down by, you know, and then they look and they can see that too. And it's like, you know, yeah. And break the guy.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is cool. It's definitely different in that way. And some of that is genetic. Some of it has to do with like your past traumas, but really at the end of the day with my sport, the thing that really wins at the end of the day is technical proficiency and skill.
Okay.
Skill is everything. If you're the more skillful grappler, you can be beat by someone that has heart, but you can always become more skillful and your mental can fade based on what you're going through in life, whatever, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you say you've had, like, you just said that what's going on in your life can sometimes affect your performance.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that what mindset do you find better going into matches? Because me personally, competing, I like going in like super calm, chill and whatnot. Like I wrestled through high school. I've tried like amping yourself up. I'm about to go fucking kill this guy. It just doesn't do well for me. I get too in my head and like performance anxiety. And I think a lot of people deal with performance anxiety. So going into something like jiu-jitsu, and being able to manage those anxieties and like, oh, this guy's trying to choke me out. This guy's trying to snap my arm, because like I said, I wrestled in high school and it's a completely different, mindset going into like a wrestling match versus a jiu-jitsu matches. It's completely different. So where do you like your head to be going in there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people try to figure out a way, like they try to find a way to do this. And then they think like, okay, for me, I perform. Some people do. I feel like some people do have a consistent, exact headspace that they need to be in. Am I okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have an exact headspace they need to be in. I need to be thinking like this, or I need to slap myself before the match, or I need to go in the back in the warm in the green room or whatever and get so warm and so tired that I break myself mentally, or I'm on the verge of that, and then I recover and then I'm ready or whatever. And it like gives them this sense of being ready. And I think that works for some people. But in my experience, the best thing that you can do is have enough experience to know whether you're too relaxed or you're too amped up based on what situation you're currently in. And it ebbs and flows with every event. Some of my best performances have been laughing and, fist bumping the guy, next to the mat right before I go out in a giant match. And then sometimes my best performances have been standing on the edge of the mat like a crazy person, like staring at one thing and just thinking about tearing his head off and slapping myself in the face and on the legs and the chest, having someone else slap me, just getting hyped and like wanting to just kill the guy. And I think it all has, with this sport, it has a lot to do with like, preparation, like what sort of preparation you had, where your mindset is in your current state with your life. We go through phases. Like sometimes you need to be relaxed and sometimes you need to be like ready to go take it and kill life, So I think it just depends on what you're going through, man. That's where my experience is with it.
Do you go into every match with like the same idea on like, I guess, are you always hunting submissions? Or are you like, do you keep consistency on that?
Yeah, I've always, so that's the thing is like consistently going into the match with the same game plan. That's only smart. You need to have your strategy set. And like, I think your strategy can ebb and flow with your opponent, but I'm always looking to submit the guy unless I'm competing against someone that I've competed against before. And I know it's going to be a close match. Then I'm thinking about obviously how to win the match. But I've always been the sort of person that kind of lives by the sword, die by the sword, excuse me. I've never had a match go to decision before in my entire jiu-jitsu career. Like decision meaning like 0 points, and then a ref's decision.
Yeah.
Every match that I've ever had has always been like either, grinding out for just one scoring transition, or we're fighting and it's points, like high scoring match, or somebody gets submitted. And the submission rate is higher than points. Usually it's either me or the other guy. Yeah. I definitely want to end the fight for sure. For the sake of jiu-jitsu, like it's supposed to be that way,
Yeah. That makes sense.
No, I agree. Like one thing they say about it is it's a lot more controlled. Like you said, the outcome's a lot more controlled, but there's still like, I think a sense of a puncher's chance because people that go into striking and have that mentality, like I got to get him out there as quick as I can because, he could hit me and take me out.
Yeah.
And I've always had the same idea of jiu-jitsu. It's like, it's not hard. I mean, it's hard, but like, it's pretty easy to get caught in a submission that shit happens.
Yeah.
And so it's the idea of people that like sit there and grind it out and like think that they're going to take it to the end is always surprising to me. And I've never just understood that mindset. So
yeah, I mean, you gotta play to your strengths. And some people are, they get stronger as the time goes and they're mentally tougher than everybody that Like I know some people that are just mentally tougher than anybody I've ever met in my whole entire life. And they will kill you if you give them 10 minutes. If you don't finish them in 5, they're going to catch you. They're going to get you because they're just not going to quit and they're going to be in shape and they're going to be ready and they don't care. And they don't have a home to go home to. They don't have a place to go home to and a comfy bed to sleep in, especially with jiu-jitsu. Like you got these kids coming from Brazil, man, and they don't have that, bro. And you got American kids who are leaving their families, like
living in their cars,
cars, dude. It's 100% living in their car, living in their van. They don't have any, like, I remember what it felt like to be like that. I mean, I had a family and everything, but man, I like some of the camps I did before some of the bigger tournaments that I've won, I was sleeping on the floor, on the mats at the gym that I was training at, and I would do a 2-hour morning session, a lift in the afternoon, a 2-hour evening session. And then I would sleep on the mats and I would do that for 5 days before I'd go compete. And the way you think when you're out there, it's not like I think now at all. It's a completely different mindset. Like there's no comfy bed to go home to. I don't even have enough money to buy McDonald's. Like I don't make money. I'm spending money to compete and doing it for some, existential void that's inside of me trying to find meaning or whatever. And then it's true though. It's true,
It's very true.
It's very true. And then you go out there and then the other guy, he's kind of smiling and he's a little loose. And it's like, oh, you're in Vegas because your dad has a house out here and you're really athletic and talented and you grew up, whatever. And now you're going to, after this, you guys are going to go to Rainforest Cafe. Well, I don't know where I'm sleeping.
Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah, dude. And it's like, and then, when you're the guy that can be like, I don't even know where I'm sleeping or how I'm eating next. So I'm going to fucking walk through you.
Do you know why you fight?
So man, it's funny you ask that. The more I develop a greater sense of self and more repaired and strong mental health, that was kind of my main journey over the last year. The reasons why I compete have become a lot more evident, and a lot of them were unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of us that are driven are driven in a negative way.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's
yes, for sure. And my goal
from a psychological
yeah.
To get the guy to psychology degree over here.
I think you got to take the most successful people in every area and just assume that they're fucked up in their head, and that's why they're so successful to some degree, right?
Or they've unlocked it for real, which is what I want.
That's fair.
That's what I want
That's
really
fair.
bad. That's what I'm seeking is like this, like doing it because it's what I want and there's no means to an end. It's like I'm developing myself every single day to be a better person, to be the best version of myself. Man, I had a panic attack after I won double gold at American Nationals.
Really?
Do you remember when that happened? What?
After you won?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It wasn't immediately after. It was the week after.
Yeah. What was it?
It was the year after I came on as a NutriAuthority athlete.
Yeah.
I won double gold in Vegas at the American Nationals as an adult purple belt, ultra heavyweight division, and the open class. And I came home and like when I walked into the gym, everyone clapped. It was like, yeah, national champion in the house.
Yeah.
Everybody clapped. And that was the only moment.
Yeah.
That a story shout out from Flow Grappling and like a 350 likes on my Instagram post,
Yeah.
and then it's over. And then I go home back to my normal life and everything's the same. And I'm like more broke because there's not a ton of money in the sport.
For sure.
And, and it's like, what the hell, man? I thought I was going to feel like I've made it. Like I finally did it. And, and it sent me into like an existential crisis. And then it led to a severe panic attack, realizing how much of this was just all for the simple fact that I didn't feel like I was enough without it.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot, which is people who become wealthy and are more unhappy than ever because they realize that they've been able to kind of push down all this external stuff and hide it for their pursuit for wealth. And it kind of sounds like a similar scenario, but the pursuit for achievement in jiu-jitsu and whatnot in your case.
Wealth is just kind of a placeholder of status.
Yeah, yeah.
Like wealth is the easiest way for you to keep score.
Yeah.
Like in the score of life, I got more money than you, I'm winning. I think that's just a status thing. Other people like bodybuilders and things, their status is that I look fucking better than you.
Yep.
And like they're like they walk around in tight clothes and they look the way they want to look. They might be broke as fuck, but like they're looking at everybody going, yeah, I'm better than you.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu is the same way. It's like I can wreck you on the mats. So
I love that dynamic between the lifters and the fighters.
Yeah, the lifters
you all
and the
act so
fighters
cool to each other, but you all fucking hate each other. It's so funny. It's like that guy looks like shit, and you're like, yeah, but I could beat his ass.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
I'm a fucking shark. The ground is my ocean.
Yeah, it's actually it's like
you guys don't even know how to fucking swim.
Yeah, get off your weight bench and come down here, bitch. Yeah,
let me just fall on the ground real quick. So we grapple.
Yeah, all show no go, huh?
Yeah, that's right. I know. I've talked to so many dudes on both sides, and it's so funny. Yeah, it's like y'all won't admit that you hate each other, and you think you're both wasting time.
But one thing that we can find that's a common enemy is a guy that has a great physique and they can fight. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, true. Everyone hates those people.
Yeah, fuck those guys, man.
Like Paulo Costa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna see it absolutely. Yeah, it's the worst, man. Yeah. So that's the one thing I hope for. Like I see a guy in a crowd and he's jacked and I'm like, he can't fight. It's fine.
Fuck this guy.
So keep going from the panic attack. You had the panic attack. Like what changed?
Yeah. And then that was the beginning of everything that's changing in my life and the new way that I live it now.
What does the work look like? Like the work on yourself. Like that's really what I'm curious about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, this is
This
is a vulnerable time.
Right here, so. I love it, man. Good. This is what I want to talk about, actually, because I think that what men, like, I don't know, I would assume that probably the primary listeners are men, but it's like, I think men need to realize that real man shit is doing that work.
Yeah. Right.
That is the real shit. And like I tell the guys that want to compete and tell me that they want to be good at jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, hey man, showing up to practice on time, twice a day, and training 5 hours a week as hard as you can, and getting your diet right, and competing every other weekend or once a month. That's the thing that anyone can do.
Yeah.
That's the basics, And I think that with mental health, like, we try to use those types of things, or whether it's money or effort, work, whatever. Achievement. Yeah. Our identity gets caught up in this, and it's like how we avoid just dealing with how we really feel when we're sitting down alone all by ourselves.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of went down a deep dive, and like, not really a deep dive, but just, trying to develop my own mental health, realizing that like all addiction or harmful habits come from this need to feel better, you know? And it's like, our feelings are supposed to be felt. Mm-hmm. We're not supposed to be avoiding them. You're supposed to feel them. You're supposed to experience sadness and anger, and resentment. And you're supposed to feel how that feels, process why you feel that way, what it's doing to you, because it's your body trying to tell you something, or your body's telling you something that you feel because of something that's happened to you before, some traumatic event, or some sort of thing that's gone on in your past that makes you afraid, or whatever it is. And like, that's where the anxiety and depression come from. Obviously, there are people that have like chemical issues in their brain that cause them to be this way, but a lot of our feelings and such are from trauma. And then the people's address to this, which gets me, is like, oh, you just need to grind. Yeah. Like, you just need to work hard and stop being a bitch. And, I'm not rich, but there's a lot of people that are close to me that can vouch for this. For a few years, I don't think that there was a person putting more effort into life than me, and that's kind of an a very arrogant thing to say, but it's like, I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning, driving across the city to El Dorado Lake to refinish a guy's boat. And then I would be sanding and staining all day, listening to a podcast or, something to try and develop my own self, because, like, getting into my life, like, I was in a very religious household. One might even call it a cult.
Yeah.
Very disconnected from reality and what's really going on in the world. So I'm like trying to learn about how to live life. My life was in shambles at the time, and I'm here resurfacing this guy's boat. And then I drive back from El Dorado to Mount Hamilton on the west side, and I take a bird bath in the bathroom and work from 4 to 8.
Yeah.
Or from 8 to 4, and then at 4, I would drive from there to the gym. Right. And then I would train 4:30 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6:30, 6:30 to 7:30. And then I would get off the mats and change into my paint clothes and drive to Derby and paint apartments until 12:30.
Really?
And that was like every single day for almost a year.
That's crazy.
And I was still competing every weekend. I had a 4-month-old baby. My wife and I had been married for like 2 years. That's grinding, and did that for a while. And then it continued in different ways as time went on, like after I didn't have to resurface the boat anymore, maybe I was getting a little more sleep, which was very important because I was only getting 4 hours of sleep, which ultimately resulted in a catastrophic knee injury, et cetera. Yeah. But it's like, that didn't help me. It made everything worse.
Do you contribute your ACL injury to like the lack of sleep and whatnot, or?
Yeah, it goes back to our original topic we were talking about earlier before, we officially started, about stress. Like, there's teaching on, like, to me, it's like the same thing as just giving someone money so they leave you alone. It's like, you stop telling people to just like go work harder. That's not what people need.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. Sometimes it is.
Some people need to know that discipline is what they need.
Right.
But then on the other side of things, you have people like you who are very disciplined to the neurotic point.
Yes.
And they don't need to hear, you just need to work harder.
Sure.
I find it a very nuanced situation, because I try to give advice to people that want to get results in fitness, right? And on one side, these people just need to be more disciplined.
Right.
But I don't know always who I'm talking to, because there could be somebody that's very disciplined, looks good already, but is mental, and they think they need to buckle down harder. And I'm like, no. Those people don't need to buckle down harder.
Yeah.
Like, you need to find your rhythm, like small tweaks, things like that. But
that's what makes a good coach or a good manager or anything. No, it's actually really that simple.
Yeah.
Knowing who to crack the whip on and who
to
to whisper to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. That's all it is.
That's tough.
It's actually really basic psychology. I always thought that was interesting. You talked about coaches in every single sport. That's the common denominator you find really, really, really quickly, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Is they they can be total hard asses, but there's also an element to that of it's who's who, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but unpack discipline, right? Like what that's a word to describe the one of the most complex
for sure
reflections of your self-worth, the way you see yourself, and how valuable you are to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like discipline, you're going to either pick love or shame. That's it.
Yeah.
You're either going to pick, I'm going to do this because I know that it's what's best for me and it's going to make me more fit. It's going to put me in better shape. It's going to make me more healthy. From a place of care for yourself, or I'm a piece of shit. I suck. If I don't do this, I'm going to lose my position on the team. I'm not going to be who I want to be. And I think, even that, I try to help the guys with this a lot with why you're doing this isn't necessarily the focus so much as how you talk to yourself about it, and about why, that type of thing.
Yeah. What do you think about there's a very strong trend, I'd say, on social media where, the answer is, work harder, be obsessed, obsess with your goal. And then if you really want it, you got to work for it. Which is true.
Yes.
If you want a goal, you do have to work for
Agreed.
it. And that is, you cannot replace the discipline and the work. But again, I guess it's maybe the same thing. You don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah, I think that you can agree with this from I don't know too much about you guys and exactly what you've done, but I know for you bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
The obsession that you take for something to become exceptional at it.
Yeah.
The lessons that you learn are hopefully ultimately what we're talking about now. So I think that I think that's the first step.
Yeah.
I don't think that obsession is your state of being. If we're talking about obsession, I would say in my opinion, of course, this is just all my opinion, but I think the obsession should be with overall personal development, and then everything will come. Your relationships will flourish. Your personal physical health will flourish. Your kids' lives will be better because of the way you treat them and how you think about your interactions with your kids. Your, if you're dating or whatever, everything's going to be better. You're going to communicate more confidently. Your job's going to be, you're going to prioritize things properly. You're not going to put, people's expectations in front of what you actually need.
Yeah.
Things like that, but yeah, I think it's important to be absolutely obsessed. I would not be here. You wouldn't even have me on the show if it wasn't for 5 years of not looking up at anything. No alcohol, no weed, no partying, no friends, just jiu-jitsu. If I wasn't training jiu-jitsu, if I wasn't working, I was studying. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And competing ridiculous amounts. And I think it's important, but
would you go back and do it the same
I
way?
was about to ask the same question. I was about to ask the same exact question.
Knowing what you know now, bodybuilding for me was the obsession.
Yep.
And for over a decade, 15 years, I was obsessed. Ate on a diet for over a decade. Very rarely went off. A cheat meal every week, but 10 years of prepping my meals every morning and taking them with me. Barely missed workouts. Woke up in the morning excited to go to the gym. Oh man, I can't wait to go. That kind of thing. And then would I do it the same now is hard to say.
I think for me, the simple answer is I couldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, it would be impossible.
Okay.
I just don't even have that. I love to compete. I love to test myself. I love jiu-jitsu. I'm passionate about jiu-jitsu. I find it to be absolutely beautiful and artistic. I'm passionate about testing my skills and pushing my mental toughness, but I will never be as psychotic as I was about it ever. I can't.
Yeah.
I understand that putting the blinders on like that about something is catastrophic to the things that matter.
Yeah.
You're, like for me, when I say that, I'm talking about my spouse and my son.
For sure.
Like I can't ever be that obsessed about anything else. I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I was telling this to someone the other day. People were like, oh, when you get older, your priorities will change. And I always thought that meant that I was going to like consciously decide, like I care about my kids and my wife more. So I'm going to decide to be disciplined and not do this thing I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
What actually happens is you become passionate about your family.
Yeah.
Or at least I think most people do.
Yeah. They should.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's tough. I mean, I think that I had to fake it for a little bit, but I'm at the place now where nothing will ever jeopardize that. I'll live in a van and have a great relationship with my wife and kid before I ever need anything else, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's very easy to forget the things that you would actually really care about.
100%.
And I think that's something that I would say to somebody wanting to reach a bodybuilding goal or a fitness goal.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, I can tell you how to get the results you want. And you can do the work. But the question you have to ask yourself is how important is it compared to the rest of the things that are important in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Because if eating dinner with your family is very important because of the family relationship, we're going to have to modify your diet.
Yep.
Like it's not going to be you eating Tupperware
No.
and you having this little meal and your family eats something different. You're on a different schedule,
Yep.
or however you're going to look at it. You can't have a cheat meal with them. You can't eat that ice cream cone with your kid because you're dieting, and they don't really care. But like you being involved in the process is part of the the situation, right? You eating the ice cream is part of you being there, present with your kid. And so as a bodybuilder, those things are a lot harder. And so that would be the thing. I would say, first we need to really decide like how dedicated you want to be to this.
Yeah, dude. I was wacky too. Like, I was like 325 when I started, and on my weight loss journey, I remember distinctly like getting down to 200 pounds for the first time. My wife would want a donut.
Yeah.
So I would go to Quick Trip and I would buy one donut, and I would actually, sometimes I would buy two, but I'll tell you about this. So at the times that I would buy two, I'll tell that story rather than the one.
Sure.
And I would put them in the seat next to me, and I would just drive and talk shit to myself.
Really?
And hype myself up about my opponents and talk shit to the donut.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, fuck you. You just want to ruin everything for me. I'm serious, man.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. And I'd be like, sometimes look in the mirror and be like, you're too fucking shit, bro. You're not going to do this.
Yeah.
Like you're the man.
Did you ever tell yourself there's nothing better tasting than looking good?
No.
Or looking better?
No, I didn't. I didn't say that. Because for me,
there's some people like that.
Yeah, I know.
But it's never been about looking good.
No, I know,
you know
but
what I mean?
Feeling better, getting slimmer, or whatever your goal.
Just like being the champion. That's all it was. It's like, you're a champion. You're not a fucking bitch. And then I would go home and I would take the donut and throw it in the trash and give my wife the donut and sit down, and I would make myself watch her eat it. You know, and like punishing myself and be like, you're just too fucking tough, dude.
Yeah.
You're not, you know
Serious
what I mean?
question.
Yeah.
Did you ever get that donut out of the trash?
No.
No. Did you ever eat it on the way home?
No. There were times where I would cave. Yeah. For sure. I wasn't crazy enough.
You called the donut a bitch. You took a little
and then he eats the donut.
You're such a nasty boy.
Who's the bitch now?
Yeah, just take a little nibble. It's like, dude, I want this bitch inside me.
That is right. That is right.
Can't wait to get inside me.
Yeah, that's true, dude. Yeah, I was wild about things like that, man. Like,
so you sounded like you did like a lot of negative, like sort of motivation.
Big time.
Trying to do more positive now, obviously. Huge difference, no difference.
I'm so happy, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm super happy. Yeah. My life is wonderful. I'm very blessed. I've tried to get to the point where that I just, social media peddles this more than anything else. And that is like, we're trying to get there, man. We're trying to get there. Let's get there. We're going to get there. Today, we're going to get there. We're going to get one more step to get there. Where the fuck is there?
There is no
We're
there.
there. This is there. I'm there right now.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that will make me turn off the app faster than that, because I don't want that poison in my head ever again.
Yeah.
And like when I swipe and then, someone comes up and they're like, today we're going to do that because we all know that like this is what we want. I'm like, no. Whoa. This is what I want, is to be okay right here, right now. Because if I'm okay right now, that's all there is.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, One of the things that has been a little bit of a transition is figuring out how to stay driven with that new type of motivation. And I've realized that what you have to do is just let go of all of those things that you thought you wanted because you really don't need them anyways. And then it's like, well, then that makes me a loser. And it's like, no, that's unlocking freedom. Yeah. That's when you're free. Yeah. When you don't have to have the stuff and the status and people watching you, you know what I mean? You're free. You're free now. You can be whoever you want to be. And in doing that, my relationships have become far better. Yeah. My relationship with my wife, like I honestly, like, I can't believe that these words are passing my lips, but my marriage is amazing. Yeah. I love being married. I love being a dad. You know, I'll be married 11 years this year, you know, and it's like, it's been incredible because you stop stressing about things that, like, man, who wants to live their whole life not being wherever there is? That sucks. Who wants to die like, damn it, I missed it.
Let me ask you this though. Do you feel like that's an easy cop out for people that would just never put the hard work in for whatever dream it is?
So here's where my head's at on this. If they're happy never getting to that spot, then no.
Okay.
If they're not happy,
because I think a lot of people convince themselves like, I don't need that, and I don't really want that. But like deep down, if there's a jealousy towards somebody that has it, then you do. Like there's a hint there.
For sure. Yeah. All of those things have to be applied. All of those emotions, those negative resentments and jealousies, they have to be applied. Like you have to be ready for the fact that you're not good. Like, but the issue with this is that the cycle just repeats itself. Like, you think Jeff Bezos doesn't have people he's jealous of?
For sure. Yeah.
He just finds a new reason, right? You know, and it's like,
and it's not money.
Right.
It could be a relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
It could be the fact that you could go to the grocery store and nobody knows who the fuck you are.
Yep,
you know, all sorts of weird things you never think about.
Silly
shit. Like that Michael Jackson rented out a whole grocery store one time, and it was so he could live out his dream of going shopping like a normal person. And so they closed the whole place down. And
that's so sad.
He couldn't do it because he was such a famous person that everybody would have just, he had to have security and everything. So they just shut the whole place down and he could go. But they're one of the richest performers you ever met.
Right.
What a simple, silly little dream that he had that we live every day.
Yep, exactly. You know? And we're so right. And I think, I don't know, man, for me, it's like, you got to find whatever you're okay with. And that's what you do. And I think ultimately for me, ultimately for me, the idea of freedom is to have security.
Yeah.
And the more that you acquire, the more you have to lose.
Yeah.
So it's like, I take a list of the things that I want to experience every day, that I think would be nice to experience every single day of my life. And I want to get to the place where I can do those things pretty much every day, with a reasonable, expectation. And then that's it. You obviously have to have money to live, but finding just a contentment in existence and realizing that existence in and of itself is a gift. And the fact that we get to breathe and be conscious with whatever is happening to us that allows us to sit here and have conversations is beautiful by itself. Then I think you can find a lot of peace,
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. And I'm certainly no pro at it. Today I was having problems with anxiety and depression and, existential guilt and all that shit. But
but once you know it's bullshit, is kind of the key thing. Like once you know that those stories that are going on are bullshit.
Yes.
Because there's still drivers inside of me that I've worked on, right? Mm-hmm. Of status, like bodybuilding was a huge status thing. Mm-hmm. And at one point in time, bodybuilding fell away, by itself. Like if the question of jealousy, like, do I look at somebody that's a bodybuilder these days like I used to and have a twinge of like, oh man, I just wish I looked like that. Not at all. Like it fell away completely on that. But there's other areas you still have them with business and success and money and status and lifestyles and things like that. There's always something that's like that still left over. But if you know that it's bullshit, at least that's maybe step one to work through them.
Right. Knowing that it is bullshit is step one. And then like believing it is the next one. Right.
Yeah.
Like
I'm really a huge believer, and it's literally the title of the book I'm reading, but it's true. It's do not believe everything you think.
You can't, dude. You can't.
It's a dangerous thing. There's so many ways to say it. But yeah, dude, the way things feel and the way they are very different a lot of times. And if you get focused on the way that things feel, it's going to affect the way things are.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that a lot of it comes from what some people call like the third layer of consciousness.
Yeah. Sure.
Like your ability to step outside of your thoughts and realize that you're a brain thinking thoughts, but that those thoughts are not you. And then you can observe. It's like what Alan Watts said, when you observe the thinker thinking the thoughts, you know?
The witness.
Yes. And you're like taking a step back and you're like, okay, these things are coming to me. I'm feeling this way. Why? What's going on? Why do I feel angry right now in a time where I logically know I shouldn't be?
Yeah.
There's something here. My dad did this, my mom this, my last boss treated me in this way. And so now it makes me feel like the fear of this or whatever. And yeah. And the thing is like that to me has been more, I've seen more results in my life and in my overall feelings and in my own overall success in tackling this than any diet or workout or book.
I think almost anyone who's done this work would say that.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting reason why it doesn't.
Curious for the people that are listening that are interested in the stuff that you're talking about. You mentioned Alan Watts. Like who else are influences in this area for you that you would seek out, or big things that really like epiphanies that happen because of something that you read, right? Or something that you watched?
Wow. That's a good question. One of the people that unlocked some really big things for me is a guy by the name of Gabor Mate.
Yeah, Gabor's a great one.
Yes, dude, he's excellent. I'm not the biggest fan of Jordan Peterson, and I would say that I'm not as much of a fan as I used to be. He used to be sort of like my new pastor.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Coming out of religion, he was the guy that was like, okay, this guy sets the standards for the way I'm going to live my life now.
Yeah.
But there's some things I don't necessarily agree with. So I think, you've got Gabor Mate, Jordan Peterson, some of Alan Watts' philosophies, and then you can get really into like Freudian theory and all this stuff. And, you know what I mean? That can kind of help. But ultimately, I think it's starting to just kind of open your eyes wider and taking things from everybody.
Yeah.
In my experience, if you take every bit of content that you have and you pretend it's a piece of wax paper with information on it, and you lay it on top of everybody else's piece of wax paper with information on it, whatever the bold photo is, the picture that comes through is usually the truth.
Okay.
Right. So the meat and potatoes of all of this stuff is all about this true sense of understanding of self, the acceptance of all of the things that you cannot control, and the presence to just live in the present, be right here, right now, taking the steps that you're taking, living your life one step at a time, and just being ready to accept whatever's coming. And, and yeah, man. And like, go to therapy, dude. Like, I think that therapy's not for everybody, man, but therapy's for everybody, Yeah.
It is for everybody.
Yeah. The right therapy, it is, man. And really people, what they need is the right therapist.
Yeah.
The right person. Like my therapist, he's a G, man. Like I feel like we're on a team. It's not like he's a coach. It's not like he's telling me what to do. We're on a team. I come in and it's like we're working together to fix these things together.
It's just out of insecurity, man. For sure. The amount of people I talk to that are unwilling to go, always what it is. They don't want to be told what's wrong with them. I get it, dude.
Yeah,
it's not fun.
I will say that is a big one for sure. But also my lack of confidence in who I would hire would be the other thing that would stop me. If I had a great referral, I think I would be like much more likely.
The results you could get from $50 in an hour at time is way more.
But I understand the amount of professionals that I would not trust
100%,
and that I don't want to end up with one of the professionals I wouldn't trust. That would be where the referral would come from.
Right, but $50 is stopping you from, I don't know.
100%. That's I'm just saying, one of the things that would stop me, sure, insecurity is one of them. Just like, I would be insecure doing a lot of uncomfortable situations, right? That would be an uncomfortable situation. But trusting the person and knowing that they're more like Gabor Mate than they are just some douchebag at a crappy college that doesn't know what they're talking about.
One of the things that I've come to find is that you cross reference the knowledge that you have, and I am always receptive of the information, but I will not change until I believe it.
Yeah.
And I'm really careful about what I believe because I came from a life of believing that if women cut their hair and wore makeup, that they were going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
And if men had beards, they were going to burn in hell, and you couldn't watch TV or have the internet, right?
Yeah.
So when people start talking, I'm always really hesitant to just buy in. So I wait. When I talk to them, I just talk through everything. I'm like, okay, well then explain this to me.
Yeah.
And you can kind of sift through what's BS and what's not. And you can also, like, I've gone through 3, 4 therapists to get to someone that's where I'm at now. And I think a lot of it has to do with like, you can see when they're running out of ways to help you.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're out of their wheelhouse now, and you're onto something really deep. And like, you need a specialized person in trauma therapy, or you need someone that, you know, specializes in BPD or ADHD or PTSD or whatever it is that you're dealing with. Right. And like, that's what happened with me is like, you know, I'm sure you know quite a bit about this, being that this is your actual field, but it's like I would deal with someone, and my first therapist was just the first person that was going to listen to me be honest about everything.
Yeah.
And I would just tell the truth about everything.
Yeah.
About who I am.
A weird thing to do though.
Right.
Because you don't tell the truth to anybody.
No.
And some people, that's enough.
Yep.
You know, some people just having someone to listen to is enough, but it's something you said that is perfect. And I totally believe it. It's therapy is for everybody. People don't want to do the work, or they don't want to find the right therapist, or they don't think they need it.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah. And
those three excuses are all you're going to find.
Yep. And another thing that I hate is for people to be like, oh, I go to is everything okay?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Is I go to jiu-jitsu and this is my therapy. You know what I mean? This is my therapy. I go to the gym. This is my therapy. Oh, I skate, I surf. This is my therapy, you know? And it's like, no, it's not, dude. It's a coping mechanism. You go to the gym, you get a pump, you get really tired, and your brain gets filled with endorphins. You feel a little bit better for 20 minutes. And you don't think about all the shit that you're doing. And it's just another way to disassociate from the problem. Hanging out with your friends isn't therapy. Talking to your buddy who makes you feel better about yourself isn't therapy. Therapy is uncomfortable, but ultimately results in change, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a good point to make because, you know, I feel like there are like stepping stones, right? So people maybe not ready to take the step to full-blown therapy might utilize like bodybuild or like going to the gym, jiu-jitsu, different things as like their way to buy time until they're ready to really take that on. I guess
that's actually a really good thing to talk about because people talk a really talk a lot of shit on addiction. Addiction has saved more lives than people will ever realize.
Yeah.
I that's a hot take, but I believe that. Point, yeah. I believe that addiction has saved so many lives because it's led people to realizing they have a problem. You know, but and if you're smart enough to tackle it before it kills you or does something harmful to you, which all addiction, it is addiction because it is harmful. But if you find a way to start addressing that before it becomes catastrophic, it actually will be the root of all your problem. Like that thing you're using to not feel is directly associated with the biggest issue that you have. And that's like buying time thing you're talking about for sure, man. Like people get like, they smoke a ton of weed, like just so much to stay completely disassociated from their feelings all the time, but they're not ready to deal with it yet.
Yeah.
And then over time, they're like, man, I'm stoned all the time. I got to come off this. And then they start coming off and then they have feelings and they're like, oh no, what do I do with this? Right? Take those feelings, go to therapy with it. And then when you get through that, you're going to find like, oh my gosh. And then you become a mental giant, I think. And this is the journey that I'm on, not necessarily just weed, but just things in general, you know, whether it's social media, dude, or hanging out with your friends, not being able to ever be alone, whatever your thing is that you use to get away. And for me, it was jiu-jitsu. That was my thing. That's why this happened was I was like, it feels so good to feel okay. And I just built this entire alternate world with an online persona and an image that would make me feel like I was somebody. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, instead of ever having to go look in the mirror and be like, okay, well, we're going to decide that we're somebody without all of this, you know?
Yeah. I don't think people have much self-reflection in that area. It takes a while.
Yeah. It takes a while. And it's because it's hard and it's very likely that none of your friends want to do it.
That's true.
Yeah. You know?
Well, and nobody wants to do it with you because they're all in, like your friends are in that, especially in jiu-jitsu or in bodybuilding, like to recognize the obsession and like back off a little bit. They're not for that because they're in the obsession.
Yes.
You know,
yeah. And then you start doing it and it starts to trigger, and I'm not trying to use a buzzword here, but it starts to dig up things that other people see in themselves that they don't want to address. Yeah. And man, it's not on purpose. Like one of the things that I used to do a lot, especially early in my jiu-jitsu career, is like, oh, they just don't want to fix it. It's like, they're not hard like me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's not it at all. Everybody wants to be happy. Yeah. It's terrifying. Yeah. It's fucking scary, man.
For sure.
You know, it's so scary to really look inside and decide to love the parts of yourself that are fucked. Yeah. It's scary to do that.
For sure.
Yeah. And even after you know that's what you're supposed to do, it's still terrifying. You wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh no, another day of liking this fat piece of shit.
It's almost worse knowing what to do.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's almost worse knowing what to do. Awareness sucks, bro.
Yeah, it does.
Because then now you can't like guess or like try to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting there feels pretty good though.
Yeah.
You know,
That's awesome.
The moments where you can be there, it's awesome. Dude.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
tight.
you.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah,
It
dude.
does. Yeah.
No,
I love
this
to
is-
talk. So
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'll give it to you to speak, and then I'll ramble or kind of thing. But no, this is really cool. This is the stuff that I'm really interested too.
Cool.
So I think once you see through your own bullshit a little bit, and you start to see what's really driving you, your interest should change.
Yeah.
And you should start to see that there's a freedom that you could probably start heading towards if you were to give up some of the beliefs that you had, and maybe some of the things that you think are important that aren't actually important. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
So-
loving other people becomes something you want to do.
You become more accepting because you see your own flaws in other people. And then you see that they're not really fucked up. They just have the same flaw you do.
Yep.
And then forgiveness.
Yep. And
happens.
now you love that part of yourself. So you don't have to talk shit on this guy because
Completely.
he's getting whatever. And you think it's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, I've been there.
Yeah. You can see it from a different, people's motivations too. You start to see their motivations and you're like, hey man, that guy's
Just got to let them.
just broken, broken.
Just let them.
Yeah, just let him.
Yeah, just let him.
That's another podcast episode with John. Just let him.
Best advice I've ever gotten.
Well, awesome. Where do people find you if they want to find you on social? You keeping up on social media?
Yeah, I am. Sort of. I took a little bit of a break, but I'm going to be back this year. So yeah, Nathan Carroll BJJ on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can find me there. Obviously, Nutrauthority.
Yep.
You guys have been a big supporter of my career for years now.
Yep.
Lean Kitchen also, which is associated with the Supplement Giant brand.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, man. Please check them out. And I train and teach at Valor Martial Arts here in Wichita.
Yeah.
Got my own spot on the west side inside Compelled Fitness off of Kellogg. You can come see me there. That's pretty much it.
Awesome, man.
I appreciate you coming on. We'll probably have to do like another episode.
I would love to. I would love
of course.
to. Yeah, please. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys for cranking one out with the Nut Club.
And if you haven't subscribed,
subscribe.
hit that subscribe button. And thanks for cranking one out, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.